What's up, nation? CK013 here, joined by the triple OG of the WiseTake Nation. That's right, I'm talking about Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. It is the WiseTake Nation podcast, episode 2. Just me and Joey today. Decided to give Paulie the night off. You know. Plus, Paulie actually wrote a free NFL article. It's nothing to do with DFS. Like, I know some of you might not know, we do a WiseTake is actually a DFS subscription. DFS community, whatnot. But anyway, it's nothing to do with DFS. If you into season long fantasy, you may want to take a look. That's really what it's based for. It's just Paulie just kind of posted his top 10 running backs going into the 2019 regular season. Joe, how you doing? First of all, how was your weekend, bro?
Weekend was, I survived it, and I'm happy that Monday is here. When you have 3 kids and there's no school or no daycare, it's basically them wanting you to entertain them for 12 hours both Saturday and Sunday. And when 2 of them are the same age, going through the same stuff, and then the third one's 4 years old, it's all about survival. That's all. It's all about survival.
Survival is key, man. Survival is key in anything, especially parenting, I would say. From what I hear from you, anyway. I tell you what.
Definitely.
Awesome, dude. Like, you survived. It's always.
Yeah, we had a good weekend though. Friends came over Saturday night. We had a barbecue, and then we went to a barbecue on Sunday. Nice. So it's just crazy when you have 3 kids. They all want to go each direction and stuff. And there's only 2 of you,
God.
So
I can only imagine, man. And that's the thing we were talking about for the show. That's the thing. Like, for you, it's not just that you have 3 kids. They're all young, all young. It's like too young to where you can't. You're still like. I mean, your oldest, you're trying to get the discipline thing down, right? Like, he was just at an age where you just kind of, hey, he's too young to understand. He's just getting to an age where you can start to explain things to him. And meanwhile, you got 2 babies running around. It's like twin babies at that. So, I feel you, bro. I can only imagine, man. God bless you, though, man. God bless you. I'll tell you that. Patio Joe. And still doing the dirty for the WiseTake Nation, because that's just what the nation does. But Joey's still triple OG in it over at the WiseTake Nation. I guess we'll start off with some NFL. I mean, the perfect transition into the NFL. Let's talk about Paulie D's article. For those of you that don't know, if you want to read the article, go to wisetake.com. It is free. Just look. If you go there now, it's on the front page. But eventually, there's going to be other content coming out, so you'll have to go to the NFL section. But Paulie D's top 10 running backs going into the 2019 season. You can go check it out at wisetake.com. Completely free. And leave your thoughts there. Leave your thoughts here in this video or podcast, whatever format you're listening or watching us on. But Joe, talk to me about the top 10. What'd you think of it overall? Did you mostly agree with it? Did you mostly disagree with it?
I definitely agreed with it. There's one omission. I think that is just a glaring omission, and I don't even know if he forgot him or not. I just don't know why he's not at least even on the honorable mention. But we'll get to that. But I like it. There's some bold takes. I think that Paulie's not. What I appreciate is Paulie's not just kind of going by sort of last year's. He's going by the current status of what the NFL right now is and what he thinks is going to transpire this year, not just sort of what everybody's kind of telling you is going to happen. That being said, the top 5, I think that. I agree with it. He has Connor at 3 ahead of Kamara. I wouldn't have had that. Kamara, I'm a big Kamara guy. I would have Kamara ahead of him. And McCaffrey, Barkley, and Zeke. I agree. If Zeke was in training camp right now, he'd be my number 1 back. But because he's not, I'm totally with the way he put him down at number 5. But assuming that he gets into camp on time, I'm with Zeke being up at the top and putting Connor down at 5 or so. But the one guy I think that's missing in this whole list, even an honorable mention, is David Johnson. This offense with the Cardinals is going to be running more plays. They say going to be getting him more the ball in space, more opportunities and such. So I just feel like he should be at the least. If you're gonna put him down a little bit, I would maybe have him behind Le'Veon Bell and in front of Fournette. But besides that, I'm good with that. Joe Mixon being at 10, I would bump him out. Strictly, it's not the talent, it's the offensive line, and I'm not into the Bengals offensive line this year. It's really bad. It's one of the worst in football. But I definitely agree with Leonard. Leonard Fournette is a good. He's a little bit. I think probably put him up there a little bit. I like it though because he's a bounce back candidate. We see his talent, so I'm with it. And Marlon Mack in that offense, I like that too. Honorable mention guys, Melvin Gordon. Not so much just because of his holdout. I think if he comes into camp, he's definitely in the top 10. Dalvin Cook by the end of the year, I think, might be a top 10 back. And then we found out today, Devonta Freeman pretty much is the number one back in Atlanta, and they're kind of figuring out who's going to be the number 2 back between Ito Smith and Brian Hill. So Devonta Freeman has a stranglehold on that. So I'm with it. I'm pretty good with it. I'd maybe switch some guys around here and there, but besides the glaring omission of David Johnson, it's a good article.
I mean, it's definitely a solid article, but like it's funny because like Polly's obviously a DFS player. You know, those of you that don't know daily fantasy sports, plays DraftKings, FanDuel. So you've probably seen the commercials. But it's like he obviously a lot of us play season long too. But if it's to me, it's like kind of DFS like backboned. Like this is intended for a season long approach, and I think that. Like DFS players have a little bit of that, you know, like contrarianism naturally, like tournament players anyway, right? Like a lot of DFS players will naturally have different stances than people who don't consider things, because you know DFS players are looking at it like, oh, chalk, you know, some of these guys are gonna be chalk and that's bad chalk, and like everybody's gonna like this guy, that makes you like this guy, and in season long that'll help you, like maybe not draft the guy too high, because you know what, nobody's taking Marlon Mack. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sitting here like. I know what running back I want. I'm really high on Marlon Mack today. I'm not worried about people coming in here and taking Marlon Mack in like this just second round. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm sorry, the first round, obviously. So, I like the contrarianism there is there. I didn't even notice, like the list is so good that I didn't even notice David Johnson wasn't on it until you had mentioned it before the show. Mm-hmm. And like that's not. We talked about the Cardinals a little bit last week. But we talked mostly about Kyler Murray and what our expectation or the expectation that is set for him. So it is interesting because I'm sure we touched on David Johnson, but like he wasn't the focal point of our conversation of that offense. It was Kyler Murray. So curious to see what happens. And like I mean, last year every draft was what DJ and Bell, right? Bell was a big burn, of course, but.
Gurley. It was Gurley.
Oh, Gurley number one this year. Yeah, that's right. And this year, we've got one list with DJ's not even on the list, and even Le'Veon Bell. I think Paulie had him on the list at 7, which like I think is fair considering we don't know what to expect, not just from him, but in his new role with this Jets offense. But you look at some of the guys ahead of him, and this is like literally last year, even though he held out, people didn't know he was going to hold out. He was still drafted. He still burned everybody. But, you know, it's just if you're in the 7th round and you got Le'Veon Bell there, I'm sorry, if you have the 7th pick and you got Le'Veon Bell there, like, aren't you happy? Or are there other guys that you're probably going to want to take at this point?
Oh, wow. You know, it just, you'd have to show me who was picked before. Right. He's not the 7th player on my board.
Right.
I'm not playing season long because to me, you have the first 4 in any order what you want. You could have, let's just say Zeke goes into camp, right? You have McCaffrey, you have Barkley, Zeke, Kamara. You have those 4. Then at number 5, you're probably going to have somebody like DeAndre Hopkins get picked. At number 6, you could be talking about Devontae Adams, another receiver. David Johnson, another running back. And then at 7, you know what I mean? Like you start Julio Jones. It depends on who's been taking, but a lot of times people seem to be taking wide receivers after those first 4
Yes.
running backs.
Let me ask you this: those first 4 running backs you mentioned had phenomenal. They're great talents. They had phenomenal years last year. Had Le'Veon Bell not sat out and had another one of his years, had like a year from 2 years ago, did it last season, and say he was still with the Steelers, like is he not in that? Is he not in that top realm? Or is it the holdout and like the not knowing what's going to happen? Because truthfully, like from what I understand, being a Jet fan and hearing from what I hear, they're going to give him like reps are not going to be a problem. From my understanding, is they plan on using him for like an every down back. Bilal Powell, I believe they're giving a shot, but from my understanding, is Bell's like here ready to go, and Gase is a big thrower, so it's concern. And I think that a lot of people's argument with Bell against Bell is a lot of people are going to say the same thing we all say pro James Conner is it's the Steelers system, right? Like they're built to run the ball well. They're built to have a running back with a high workload and perform well. This is a different situation with a coach who likes to throw, who likes to work with quarterbacks. Is that what this is? Or is this just a recency bias of like, no, you set out a year? I don't know. Because, I mean, he's signed. He's guaranteed money. He's going to play.
I think it's both.
Right?
I think it's both. I think it's he sat out a year, and then he's going to a team that has been, I'm sorry, CK, terrible.
Yes.
Like dog shit the last 2 years. So
yes.
If he was going into a better situation, you know, we're like, okay, we got a good offense, good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying Sam Darnold's not a good quarterback because he's young. You still don't know. He's not an upper echelon quarterback. Okay, let me see. Let's flip it. Let's say he went to Indianapolis.
Right.
Okay, now he's the number 5 pick.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I just don't think that the situation he went into is like it is. And you literally took the words out of my mouth. The thing that hurt Bell the most is when you saw James Conner absolutely tearing it up. When you saw, it wasn't just James Conner, it was D'Angelo Williams 2 years ago. Same thing. Every one of the running backs succeeds in that system. And Le'Veon Bell's numbers weren't as good as James Conner's were last year, if you look at it. He didn't do as good as Conner did last year, the year before. So I'm not sold on Bell. Like, I think that he'll be productive. He will definitely be what the Jets want, and it will help them be successful and definitely take pressure off of Darnold. But I just can't put him in the top 4 running backs. You know, it's like the same thing with Gurley. Take Gurley's knee, give him the same knee, or it was like the same thing coming into this year. Why isn't Gurley a top pick? Right, because of his knee, right? So it's like, it's the uncertainty. It's just uncertainty right now with Bell. You know, when you have the top 4 picks, you're like, these days you got to know what's the most certain. What am I going to absolutely take to the bank? And right now, even with Zeke, that's why you push Zeke down the board. You push Barkley down the board too, because you got a bad situation in New York. To me, it's McCaffrey or Kamara as the first 2 picks, in my opinion, right now. Right. Those guys are in the best situations. Lock it up. You can argue that Kamara is going to be even more featured now because there's no Ingram, which he might get a 1 or 2 more carries a game, but I don't think that's going to happen. Because Latavius Murray will be there, and if you watch the Saints game, just the way that they run their offense, Kamara's, I don't think he's not that type of player. So McCaffrey to me would be the number 1 back just because of the situation. Kamara would be number 2 back. Would
McCaffrey be your number 1 if Gordon and Zeke? Well, Gordon's not number 1, but if Zeke didn't have this potential holdout,
Zeke would be my number 1 back.
If not for the holdout, okay.
Because I think Zeke is in the best spot out of all.
To speak our language, Joey, the DFS lingo, like he's the cash game chalk, right? Zeke, right? Like that's him number 1. Assuming he wasn't going through this bullshit he's going through. Like you take out this bullshit, he's the number 1 guy, right? Like he's the safest on the board. You know what his role is. You know the whole offense runs through him. It just makes sense. Okay, just wanted to clear that up.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
I'm with it, Joe. But yeah, guys, don't forget, go check it out, WiseTake.com. The article is up there. You can also check out the WiseTake Twitter. You can find it there too at @wise_take. And leave your thoughts on, like I said, if you're listening to this show on iTunes, leave it there. If you're listening to this on YouTube or watching this on YouTube, we want to hear from you. And even if you just read the article and you want to leave it there, I'm just curious. I'd like to get the nation's opinion on that. Joe, we're gonna stick with football, but we're gonna do a little Vegas action here. So we're not gonna look at week 1 or anything crazy like that. It's a little too early for that, right? But we will. Let's look at some of these win totals. I'm gonna pull up the DraftKings Sportsbook, and we are gonna look at some of these NFL win totals.
And I don't even know. You're just gonna throw. I'm just gonna.
I'm not. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw you some of the more like popular teams, and you let me know if anybody like gives you any kind of value. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna just say the first word that comes into my head when you give me this team's like, record.
Yes.
It could be anything.
Yes.
Just remember.
I'm gonna pick random. So,
right?
So one thing I won't do, I'm not gonna ask you the Cardinals because we covered that on the last show last week. That was the one team we did, and you and Paulie both said over, which I agree with. It's only 5. All right, so I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick some stuff. Let me just put the screen up for those watching. This way they can. There we go. All right, now they can see it. Awesome. We're gonna go with, how about the Baltimore Ravens? Over under 8.5 wins. The under is juiced to -139, while the over is actually a decent underdog, plus 115. So I guess I'm assuming the public and probably everybody is smashing the under. What do you think? 8.5.
Shit, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I would say I'm going with the under.
Under 8.5, yeah. I mean, I think that's like the chalk approach. You think about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, and like they're so run heavy. I know they made some changes, but
the Browns are supposed to be better.
Browns are gonna be better.
Hard division.
What about the Steelers? Not what's your outlook on the Steelers without Antonio Brown? You think they'll be fine because they got Connor?
Yeah, I think that the Steelers are going to be just fine. The guy that you're going to want to get, I think, in drafts is Dante Moncrief. The number 2 receiver in the Steelers offense always produces.
Yeah. No,
remember that.
Going to be on Juju.
So I think I'm a little bit Juju. I'm a little bit down on him this year. I just don't think he's in that level of top receivers. I think he's like right below them. Connor, I think, is going to get his. Ben is going to throw a lot, and I think that it's going to be they're going to be an offense you're going to want to have, because I don't think that they're going to, like, the defense is not a shutdown defense anymore. So it's just going to be going back and forth and stuff like that. I like Moncrief a lot, though, this year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think like the contrarian, like, go against the public in me says like take over on this and under on Steelers, which we'll do the Steelers next. I'll ask you about them. But it's very hard for me to pull that trigger. Like, I'm looking at the Ravens, and I'm just like, I got to see this offense before I can back 8.5 wins. And they just lost a couple, key dudes. I mean, they made some upgrades also, but they lost some key dudes from last year. The Steelers, Joey, the over-under is 9, and it's reversed. The over is juiced at -122. The under is even money. Over-under 9 for Pittsburgh.
I think under.
Interesting. So
I think under.
So that division in general, if you think about it, right? Like, you like the under on both of those. So it might be like a dogfight, dude. I mean, it should be. It always is. But like with the Browns competitive now, and the Ravens and Steelers, like maybe at least the perception is that maybe they're not as good this year. Kind of interesting. Speaking of which, let's stick in the division. We'll go at the very popular Cleveland Browns. Over under 9.5, Joe. Wow, 9.5. I like the under there too.
Under.
I love the under there. It's juiced up to -139, so like the value is kind of sucked out of it. But I do like the under there.
I think that those 3 teams are going to be like 9-7, 8-8, 7-9. They're going to be all around there. It's going to be all
all beat on each other.
Bengals will be like 5-11, but it's all going to be, Browns are going to be better, but let's just hold off on, everybody's like anointing. God, I swear. Do you have like Twitter? Like I said, preseason NFL Twitter is terrible. Right now, I'm looking at a highlight by a scrimmage for the Cardinals of Kyler Murray scrimmaging in a controlled scrimmage where they don't hit the quarterback and like, ooh, he's fast. Ooh. It's like I'm seeing this like highlight over and over again. And that's the thing. It's like you gotta like just shut out all of the freaking noise in preseason, in my opinion. I hate it. It's tough because you want to like, what do you? To me, I feel like when you look at Twitter, CK, this is a question for you. When you look at Twitter and you see things, what do you like say? Okay, I can. This is credible. This is something I want to look for. And like, this is just noise.
What are you asking me?
You know what I'm saying? I'm asking you like when you look at Twitter and you see these highlights or you see like a tweet from a beat reporter and they give out a tweet about this, like, and you find something like, okay, this is noise or this is something I want to listen to. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just noise. This is nothing. It's stupid.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the information. Like, I like to pick up on little like weird things, dude. I like to know about like team chemistry. So there are some stuff, but like it's very few and far between. Yeah, when they're just saying, "Oh yeah, this guy went this for this," and in a pre, no, it's obviously right. Like it's more about like that's the backup's chance to try to earn a job in reality, right? Like
it's just so weird. Yeah. It's just I can't believe like, and like people like hype up these players and like, dude, it's practice.
Oh
man. Yeah. Like every play is like mapped out. Like we're gonna run this play once, and like you don't run it more than once. If you screw up, they go on to the next play.
Dude, you're absolutely. I will say this, like preseason, like anytime there's like a preseason, like going, not even the preseason, but training camp. Every team is like the best squad on earth. When you look at everybody's stats, oh, he looks great this year. This guy's awesome this year. He just completed his big bomb. Like like every team, it's like okay. Everybody's winning the Super Bowl this year. I'd love to see somebody like even if it's a beat reporter. Maybe they're not allowed. Depending on the market, they probably can get away with it. But I'd love to see a beat reporter just be openly honest. Like, yeah, these guys just don't have it this year. Like, they're like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, these guys just don't got it this year, man. I don't know. Like, it's hard to envision, but it seems like every team is like, oh, they're looking really good this year. Looking really, really good. Yeah. Watch out. You know what I'm saying?
It's gelling, yeah.
Exactly. Joe, I'm going to ask you about a couple more of these teams. And then, we'll move on to something else. But I want to ask you about a couple more. There was a team. Oh, Chicago Bears. Get this. So the Chicago Bears over-under is 9.5, Joe. The under is juiced to minus 152. So it's a heavy, heavy favorite. The over is plus 125, a legitimate underdog. Like, that's legitimate underdog value. Chicago Bears, and believe it or not, I'm pretty sure that their future, like, for them to win the Super Bowl, is actually not bad. I'm going to look at it now. Oh, no, okay, no. They're plus 1,800. That is not true. But rank-wise, it's not a terrible ranking. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this? 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. They're, like, the 9th highest odds to win the Super Bowl. 9.5 wins, though. I mean, I guess that's not that great when you kind of put it in perspective. What do you think?
Let's see here. They have a first place schedule. They finished in first place, and that's always a big thing of the teams going back. I'm going under. Let's just look over their schedules right now, real quick. They got the Packers at home starting out Monday Night Football. Okay. I think they win that game just because it's home Monday night, right? Then they got to go to Denver. That's a tough place to play, but Denver's, I don't know. I think they win that game too. And then they have to go to, I think they start out 3-0. To be honest with you, they could start out 5-0, and then it gets tough. Then they go in their, look after their bye week. Saints at home, Chargers at the Eagles. Then they got at the Rams, Giants at home. They're going to be right on that border. Dude. Chiefs, Vikings, you know what I mean? Like, their last 3 games, look, their last 4 games at home against Dallas, at Green Bay, home against the Chiefs, and at KC. I don't know. They could start like 8-4, and like you think, oh yeah, they're gonna get it, and then like no, So
yes,
I'm saying under.
I think yes, I do agree with you. 9.5 seems very ambitious. But I will say this.
At first, I was going to say over, and then I looked at their schedule, and I was like, their beginning of their schedule is winnable, but then the end.
I will say this, like Mitch Trubisky, so far it's early, but last year he proved like when he's on, he is very tough to stop. And the difference is like between like his situation and Mahomes. I'm not comparing him to Mahomes. I'm just comparing like the team sort of from a matchup perspective. The difference is the Chiefs don't have a defense. The Bears have a very, very, and I think it's going to come down to the home and road. Is that game home or away when they see the Chiefs? When they see the Chiefs, you said. They're at home for the Chiefs. That's huge, I think, for them. That's huge for them in that defense. Not to mention, like, depending on the situation, depending on like where the records fall, or like if that game means something to the Bears and it means nothing to Kansas City at that point, you know what I'm saying? Like that also kind of comes into play. So it could be close. I lean towards the under as well, but it could definitely be close. And like, even though my pick may be under, if I was to bet this, I would definitely bet the over because I would rather get the 128.5, rather than laying 150 on a situation that could end like that. So like for the value's sake, I would say over. But if money's not a thing and lines aren't a thing, yeah, I'd prefer the under. If they give me the under at minus 110, yes, I'll be all over that. But you're making me pay 152. Fuck you. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, their toughest road games are at Philly, besides the division, are at Philly and at the Rams. But most of their really, really like tough games are their two AFC West opponents are both the Chargers and Chiefs are both at home. Like what they have the Saints at home. They have the Cowboys and Chiefs at home. So they have all those tough games, but they're, all at home. So like you said, they're going to be right on that line that.
And that's exactly why, like, if it's going to be that close, I'd rather be the underdog. And I'd rather get the value instead of lay the 150, I got one more team to ask you about, Joe. Paulie D requested that I ask you about this and share a tidbit with the WiseTake Nation. DFS players, non-DFS players, season-long players. This is something that Paulie D wanted me to share with you all. I'm going to ask you about the Atlanta Falcons. That is the team that Paulie wanted me to ask you about, Joe. Their over-under is 8.5 wins. The over is juiced to minus 121. The under is even money. Atlanta Falcons, 8.5.
Over.
Boom. Loving it.
Over. I'm not even looking at their schedule and I'm saying over. I think it's going to be a tough start. They have at Vikings, home against the Eagles, and at the Colts. But then it kind of loosens up just a tad. So I think they got more than 8 wins this year. It's 8.5?
Yeah, 8.5. So Paulie looked into this. Paulie is super high in Atlanta this year in general for DFS, season-long, everything. And the main reason for that is because the Atlanta Falcons, I believe they play their first 9 games or something like that on turf, and 13 total games on turf this year, which for them, a dome turf team is typically a good thing for their type of players, their type of offense. So I know Paulie is really high in Atlanta in general, both in season-long formats and DFS formats, just kind of everything. I agree with you. I say over. I think Atlanta actually ends up having a decent year because I think this benefits them, greatly, man.
I mean, the opportunities that they squandered in the red zone last year with Sarkisian, who's gone. Yeah. So they're back to Dirk Cutter as the OC. So
what'd you see, Cutter, and immediately thought Dick?
The key to the team is Devontae Freeman. To be honest with you, Devontae Freeman's got to stay healthy. So
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's huge. I mean, he's had a real problem with that. That's no easy feat. He's had a real problem with that. And Tevin Coleman is no longer there, so we'll have to see what happens. But real quick, before we let the NFL go a little bit, I wanted to get your kind of last thoughts on the holdout situation. I'm sure this is something that'll come up until it's resolved. I'm sure we'll talk about it at least once on some of these shows. But Zeke Gordon, and you were telling me with Gordon, things went a step further. You're obviously a Charger fan, but things apparently went a step further with Gordon, and he's now requesting a trade? Talk to me about this,
He's requesting a trade. That's what his agent did, requested a trade. So He's trying to get more money. They're about $3 million off from what I gather, and the Chargers are kind of just letting him, okay. Like they don't feel like he has much leverage, so they feel like he's going to report at some point. And I just feel like there seems to be just this growing trend of like whether it's injury or it's holdout or something, like players just do not want to play in the preseason anymore or training camp. They just want to go in last 2 weeks of the season, maybe come in and be ready. But Gordon, he kind of like agreed with what Le'Veon Bell did this last year. So I could see him doing it. I could really see him holding out. I really could, but because it's the Chargers and like, this is going to be their year. Everything's ready to go, and now they're going to have a holdout like this and derail their entire year. So, but the thing is Melvin Gordon is not one of the premier backs in this league. He's good, but he's not one of the best backs in this league. So I don't think he's as good as Le'Veon Bell. So.
Le'Veon Bell, baby. I'm so excited.
Zeke, I just don't think Zeke wants to be. I don't think Zeke wants to be in Oxnard, California right now, and he'll report like 2 weeks before the season. Sure. He's in Cabo right now training.
Yeah, in Cabo eating a big ass bowl of some Cabo ass cereal. He's just doing his Zeke thing, man. That's nice, man. Cam's in Cancun right now. You saw a guy that had long hair and did what everybody else does. Hey, look, he looks like CK. Dude, everybody, you'd be surprised at the range I get from, anybody with long hair and a beard. And, they look. Here's the thing. I don't mind, like, when people say, like that, oh, you know who... Like, that person looks like you, to me, is a lot better than you look like that person. Especially if the person is younger than me. I'm like, dude, I was here first. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was already made. I was already out there. I looked like this before that motherfucker looked like that. You know what I mean?
Show some respect.
Put some respect on my name, man. Where the hell did you go, bro? I'm sitting here.
I just went down. Sorry. I'm right here. Don't worry.
I looked up. I was looking down. I looked up. I was like, what the hell? He just disappeared. He vanished.
I'm here.
Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Who do you think wins out in those situations? So you think Zeke will come back just kind of after the preseason? And do you agree with your Chargers, that Gordon kind of like has no like? Everybody likes what Le'Veon Bell did, but can anybody else do what Le'Veon Bell did? Actually have the stones to sit out an entire season? No.
I think everybody's like, let's wait and see right now. Let's see what Le'Veon Bell
see what he does. It's like a year
does.
too early. If anything, they should be holding out next year based off of how well Le'Veon Bell does this year. If he goes out there and smashes, it's like, yeah, no problem. I'll take a year off. He did it. I could do it. But, I agree with that. I think that's fair. You know what I mean? That's fair. Real quick, Joe, we're gonna talk a little baseball. I know we're at this point now. Baseball is certainly a grind, and for us, we study baseball stats, constantly. It's kind of our job. So at this point in the season, it's a grind. You got a lot of teams that are making pushes. You got a lot of teams that are kind of quitting and just gonna play the young guys. It's an interesting time. A fun time, I'll say, to take a look at some of the MLB Futures Bets. So I got the DraftKings Sportsbook pulled up once again, and I'm gonna pull up some of these future bets, and I'm gonna read you like some of the top ones, like the favorites. I want your thoughts on like which of the favorites you would find value in, and then and then you can ask me about some long shots, and I'll tell you their odds, and we can kind of discuss a little bit there. But this could be fun. Okay, so the Houston Astros are currently the favorites at plus 250 to win the World Series. The LA Dodgers, Patio Joe's LA Dodgers, are currently second at plus 275. After that, it starts to get a big steep, like a little bit of a jump here. We got the New York Yankees at plus 460. And here I'll give you the top. I'll give you the top five. Okay, so Yankees plus 460, Braves plus 850. The Braves, Twins plus 1600. That is the top five.
I like the Twins
1,600.
of all those.
1,600. I mean,
Yeah.
but realistically, do you think they have enough pitching? And they have the offense, but do they realistically? Their bullpen is awful, right? Their starting pitcher, Odorizzi's been like one of their best pitchers, and he's just fallen off the wagon, which we knew it was coming because that's what we do. We study baseball stats, so we were telling everybody about Odorizzi's regression, and it is hitting hard right now. But it's the 1,600, right? Like, what if though? It's like, like I bet $100 with 1,600. What if? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I think that the Yankees too, because they could just hit themselves to a championship if they're that good. Their offense is that good, but it's just tough to see anybody but the the Dodgers and the Astros going at it. It's tough. I mean, barring injury, I think that the Braves, not bad, odds either. But I don't think there's anybody else. I mean, what's Cleveland?
Cleveland is the sixth at plus 2,000.
Yeah. Cleveland might be decent if there was, if Kluber comes back.
Yeah.
He's on the mend right now, so we'll see. But there's nobody else. It's tough to see like there'd be a team that would like get hot. There's definitely not a team in New York that would get hot and get to the World Series at all, no matter what.
Maybe not mine, but the Yankees I don't mind though. At 460, I know that similar to the Dodgers, they didn't make that move at the trade deadline that like a lot of people wanted them to, and I think that hurt a little bit. But the Yankees are banged up right now, they just had a really good weekend despite the fact that half their team is hurt, and like pitching is obviously a problem, but they do have a really strong bullpen. And come on, in the playoffs, you only need a couple starting pitchers. So if they can get Tanaka right somehow, it's a shame that Severino hasn't, been able to pitch. But I guess it comes down to like Domingo Germán. I'm thinking like again we're DFS. Oh, I'm sorry, James Paxton. Domingo Germán. I meant James Paxton is a big one for them, man. He has not looked good lately. He had a good game against Boston the other night. Thank God, because I went all in on him. But you need at least three guys, like at least three starters, realistically. Even with a good bullpen, because your bullpen's going to be taxed by the time you even get that deep. It's the Yankees, and it's like, oh my gosh, like without Severino, it's just and the year Paxton's having. Let me ask you a question: do you think it's weird that the Yankees pitching coach is basically where I'm getting at? So Sonny Gray goes there. Sonny Gray does terrible. And then, granted, it's a bad park, American League. He was in the American League, whatever. But he flat out said he didn't like. They were making him do things he wasn't comfortable doing, trying to make him be somebody else, whatever the case is. And then they get James Paxton. Granted, he's coming off of injury, but like, dude is like went from being like a dominant. I understand it's New York, different environment, different situation. You're playing like better teams more often, but. Are you concerned? Like, are you starting to look if the year Paxton's having? If he doesn't turn it around, are you starting to look at the Yankees pitching coach like, dude, maybe it's you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, enough pitchers go there and something's not working. Something's happening. Paxton was everybody thought it was going to be a great pickup for them, and he just has not produced like they wanted. So. Yeah, I can't. I didn't even think about it that way, but I just don't think that they put much premium on. They think that they can outslug everybody. It's a small ballpark, and then we'll get us to the sixth inning. Right. That's what they think. The bullpen, right. That's the Yankees.
I mean, no doubt their bullpen is good, it's very, very good. So I guess you can't completely knock him. But is that to me? That's a little more based off the talent they have. I think they actually have some really good talent. Plus, they do have a really good farm system in general. People they have in place, all that good stuff. But I don't know. I'm starting to look at it. I'm just kind of wondering, like, So you've gone through Sonny Gray, that didn't work. Now you got Paxton, who like even when Severino comes back, number one, you need him to you need to make sure he can still do what he did. He was gone a long time. You got to wonder how long it's going to take him to kind of get back into the swing. And then after that, Paxton was your big offseason acquisition that's supposed to help you out. Like, Paxton is supposed to be filling that void. The Yankee fans were, like, creaming their pants over, like, the possibility of maybe getting a Jacob deGrom, or anything. And supposedly they tried to trade for Wheeler at the trade deadline. It just didn't go through. But, I don't know, man. Paxton's a big question mark. But 460, like I wish it was a little higher, but I do think they have a decent shot to beat a team like the Stros. I mean, the Stros, their offense is pretty damn good, but like based off the odds, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I don't think it's that far off that the Yankees should be that further back. You know.
What are the Red Sox?
The Red Sox plus 4,500, dude.
That's a team. If they get in the playoffs,
you want to hear some? You want to hear some teams that are ahead of them? The Washington Nationals, 2,800. The Philadelphia Phillies, 2,800. The St. Louis Cardinals, 2,500. The Cubs, 2,100. The Cubs aren't so shocking, but I mean, you know why? Because the path, like the National League path, is definitely it's a little bit easier, in my opinion, than the AL path. Like, you know, I guess, right?
I mean, Boston right now is 6.5 out of the wild card.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's like I mean, they were like ready to sell at the All-Star break. They probably should have at this point, but seven's being dropped.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, my Mets 7,500, Joe. That's it right there. That's it. Sam.
The thing is that the pitching. I'll tell you what, pitching gets you a long ways, and I'm not saying that they would have the best, 3 starters, because, I mean, if you put the Mets in a 3-game series against the Dodgers, DeGrom, Syndergaard, and, I don't know, Stroman, is that you want to put number 3, is not as good as Kershaw, Ryu, and Buehler.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
yeah, as good as their pitching is, they're not as good as that. I don't think.
I think DeGrom is the best pitcher right now out of everybody. But then I agree with you that I think Thor is obviously not perfect. He's been better lately, but he's still kind of figuring out this whole pitch to contact thing that I hate as a DFS player. And Stroman is very similar to the Syndergaard. He's not a hard thrower, but he's another guy that doesn't really rely on strikeouts. He kind of pitches to contact. What kills me is like that's because that's what Stroman's talent is. Syndergaard should be a strikeout pitcher. Like his 12 and a half whatever percent swinging strike rate tells us that. It's him. It's like him choosing. I understand he's got lat problems, but anyway, I'm going on a rant. That pisses me off. But it doesn't like. I think the 5 Mets pitch rotation is deeper than the Dodgers, but I agree with you that the top 3 is where things get like that's where they're in trouble because you don't need the Dodgers don't need 5 starters. They only need 3. So like that's kind of where you're kind of screwed. Now I will say this, like as bad as the Mets bullpen has been, if they're able to cut off 2 of those guys and use them as bullpen dudes, that kind of makes things interesting, right? Like you get Zach Wheeler maybe coming out of the bullpen or something like that in a playoff scenario. That could make things interesting. Of course, the issue what it comes down to is offense, and the Dodgers are clearly like well. Why are we even talking about this? Really, I mean, we really think the Mets are going to do it. I mean, listen, they're the amazing, the miracle Mets, whatever you say. I'll be rooting for them to do it, but
they still got to pass up 4 teams, but they're only 3 games.
I know
back.
it's wild.
It's
wild. And like, I mean, dude, the year they went to the World Series, like nobody fucking thought they were going to the World Series. Like, it's a similar situation, right? Like they made a move at the deadline.
Would they be in the playoffs?
The Dodgers.
Would they be the first round of playoffs?
The Dodgers. They did.
Exactly.
They did it. So maybe we will see it, Joe. We'll see. We might have to have a more serious conversation about that down the road. And
we might just like bring this back up if it actually happens and we talk.
Have to bring this clip back.
2 months.
Have to bring this clip back and say we were on it first. We predicted it first. That's what we'll do. This was a lot of fun. Before we actually get out of here, Joe. Something that like I think so far at the nation, the only people that I know of, I know El Stevo, who's one of our producers, also the host for the NASCAR show. I know he's a pro wrestling guy also with us. I don't think anybody else in the nation is, but obviously, Joe, we gets down on some pro wrestling. SummerSlam's coming up, Joe. SummerSlam's coming up. I love SummerSlam. My birthday's in August. So, like, I've always been... SummerSlam, I always felt like was my pay-per-view. Because they always did the pay-per-view once a month. Back then, when wrestling was, like, to us, it was cool. And, like, I was associated, like, the pay-per-view with somebody's birth month. So, for me, it was SummerSlam, baby. You know what I mean? All day. SummerSlam was also the first ever wrestling tape I watched. I think it was like 1990 or 92 SummerSlam. My grandmother used to record them on the pay-per-view and send it to me while I was living in Germany. Military brat, army base, but Anyway, SummerSlam, Joe. Any thoughts?
I mean, first of all, SummerSlam was like one of my favorite memories in all wrestling. In my opinion, was I think it was the first SummerSlam where it was like I don't know, first or second match or whatever. Honky Tonk Man, nobody knows who's Honky Tonk Man's opponent, and all of a sudden the Ultimate Warrior's music comes out and he runs down the ring and he beats the Honky Tonk Man in like 9 seconds and wins the Intercontinental title. And like Honky Tonk Man had the Intercontinental title for like 2 years. Nobody could beat him, and then the Warrior comes in there and wins it. I just remember as a kid, I screamed and ran up and down the house telling my dad, Warrior won the championship. It was awesome. I was so happy as a kid. Like, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, I remember, like, I would watch the older tapes all the time. I was, like, when I was a kid, when I lived in Germany, dude, we only had, like, 5, at the time, we had, like, 5 American channels, Armed Forces Network, AFN. And so, like, I would like, live at the video store, back when VCRs were a thing, and I would just rent wrestling tapes, all old, anything I haven't seen, just rent. That was back in the old days when the UFC was basically like bum fighting. It's like they would just put these random dudes in there and just let them bloody each other up. But yeah, I do remember that. And it's funny, as a kid, I like you, I was so pumped up when that happened. But like going years later, when I became like an indie wrestler and I got into the business and kind of experienced this, like, I mean, how pissed are you if you're the Honky Tonk Man? Like, you just built me. I just built up for the last, like, 2 years of being this elite Intercontinental Champion, and you just have some schmuck who like, is a good worker in the aspect of he works his character really well, but can't wrestle worth a goddamn. And I lose to this dude in 5 seconds. I'd have been pissed. But as a fan, I did love it. I was a huge Ultimate Warrior fan. I didn't realize, like, when you're a kid, you don't fucking pay attention to, like, this guy can't work or this guy can't wrestle. You're just like, man, this dude is pumped up. He's got some sick fucking face paint, and he is kicking everybody's ass. I love this guy. Like, it's just, he had the cool music too, and that shit came on. You just wanted to fucking rock out to it.
Oh yeah,
hell yeah, man, that was fun. Fun times.
But yeah, this year's SummerSlam card, I gotta say, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's lacking to me. It's not like something where I'm like, wow, I have to watch this match. I have to watch. There's really one match on the entire card that I'm interested in, and every other match I think can be really good wrestling matches. So it's not like it's not going to be entertaining. But the one match I really want to see is Trish Stratus versus Charlotte. That's my favorite match. I'm a Charlotte fan, first of all, but I just want to see the way that they book that match because to me, there's no Trish Stratus is coming back for like a one-off. And, like, to me, there's no way she should win this match. Charlotte should win this match. She should not be coming in and beating Charlotte, who's supposed to be, they want to build her up as the best women's wrestler ever. You can't have her lose to a diva like Trish Stratus in the Divas era. You know what I mean? So I think Charlotte's going to win. There's other matches that are interesting, but, like, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, I just don't see the championship changing hands, and it's the same recycled stuff. Brock Lesnar with the championship, it's boring. I more want to see Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, because if you remember about 10 years ago, they had like this feud that started, and it was supposed to be really good, and then it just stopped. And then Kofi Kingston was just like relegated to like the mid-card down below again, and he never got back up until now. And now it's like they're playing to this storyline, to which I really enjoy. And to me, it shows you where they are when Shane McMahon, they need to pull out Shane McMahon for a match to face Kevin Owens, who is a way better worker and deserves somebody better than that. And Becky Lynch, Natalya for the Raw Women's Championship is fine. I like the way that they're playing it because it's in Canada. So it'll be interesting if they do have Natalya be sort of like, the Canadian hero, put Becky Lynch a little bit more on the heel aspect. I don't mind that. That'll be entertaining. And then Bayley Ember Moon is just like, who cares? Everybody's wondering when Sasha Banks is going to come back and either challenge Bayley or Becky Lynch. So AJ Styles Ricochet will be entertaining and will probably be the best wrestling match on the card. And Bray Wyatt is going to beat Finn Balor because Finn Balor is going away for a few weeks. That's SummerSlam in a nutshell, CK.
I can dig it, man. I tell you what, of these of this card, the two matches, like from my perspective, like the type of wrestling when I worked, like I liked the more technical stuff. I didn't always get to do it because of some of the companies I worked for, and sometimes you have to go based off the locker room. Like if you put Ricochet against, I don't know, like what's that dude's name that hurt CM Punk? The big guy. He doesn't even work here anymore. I can't think of his name. Anyway, if you're gonna let's use the Ultimate Warrior for an example, right? Oh yeah, right back as the guy. But even better, let's talk. We were talking about the Ultimate Warrior. Rest in peace. We were talking about the Ultimate Warrior. If you put Ricochet with the Ultimate Warrior, he's gonna have to change his style up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Ultimate Warrior ain't keeping up with that shit, right? So like that's like a situation when I wrestled, that was like something I had to deal with, and a lot of the old school guys would tell you like, oh no, this internet bullshit is first of all, they said the internet was full of shit. And there's companies out there right now, indie companies, who make livings off of like their YouTube views from their wrestling shows. And the other and then on top of that, like to me it was always more exciting. Like I think the NXT product, for my personal, as far as wrestling goes, guys like the Adam Cole and those dudes, like it's more entertaining to me. I think those matches are just way more entertaining. Like I don't get me wrong, I love the old school stuff. Point being, my two favorite matches by far, or the most anticipated for me, is AJ Styles Ricochet. And more so for Ricochet. AJ Styles, dude, like you were awesome in the day and you can still get it done, but you're clearly past your prime. And the problem with a guy like AJ Styles is we've seen him so many times. It's, you know how hard it is for him to do something that we haven't seen before? Especially at his age, because the way you get by when you're that old and you're wrestling is by doing the same shit and not taking so many random chances, because the more random chances you take, the less, capable your body is of handling these things, the more likely you are to eventually get hurt. Ooh, I'm getting a lot of feedback on your end. Who's that coming in there?
All right. My printer went off.
I thought you were microwaving some shit in your office. I was like, "You got a microwave in there, bro?" And then the other matchup is Finn Balor, Brian Wyatt. I'm a big Wyatt mark. I love the way that dude works. But Finn Balor is like, those guys are just gifted. Ricochet, Balor, like those guys are just physically gifted. They can do all the crazy shit and you can do all them flips and all that. I mean, the storytelling aspect you learn later, that's important, and they're good at that. But they're just gonna be cool because they do cool shit like Rey Mysterio. But for Bray Wyatt, a big dude like that, big ugly motherfucker, like to get as over as he gets, I love that gimmick he had, man, with the light, the Louisiana Bayou shit. It's like that shit nobody really understands, but they recognize it when they see it. It was like True Detective.
Well, he changed it up a little bit.
He changed it up, and I haven't even seen what he's doing right now, but I love that first gimmick. They turned him into like a joke, a comedy thing. That was kind of annoying because I thought they could have gotten more out of that gimmick. I thought that was cool, man. But anyway, last thing we'll talk about, Joe, while we're on the wrestling subject before we get out of here, let's talk some AEW, man. Talk to me about like your overall thoughts on them. Is it good for the business? I mean, obviously it's good for the business, but what is your stance on them? They have money, supposedly, right? Like, talking about the Khan family here, a lot of money supposedly. They start up on TNT very, very soon. Are you buying into this shit?
I want to, but like, it's a matter, we talked before, it's about having time in your schedule to fit in another show or whatever. And I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours or 1 hour show. So I think it should be a 2 hour show. I think competition's great, but I think that they need to try and get some eyes on the product that they normally wouldn't get. So they need to keep building the roster and stop trying to compare themselves to WWE. But I'm like, with a bird's eye view kind of watching it. And, I've said this before, if they ever get CM Punk, I'm in, you know what I'm saying? But it's because he's like one of my, my favorite wrestlers, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. I think that, Johnny Moxley going there is good for them. I think competition is good, but we got to get some good storylines. Make me want to watch You know, got to have some. You got to get some mainstream names over there. You know, to get people to
Yeah,
watch.
no, I agree. I love the product, like the idea, the concept, like giving it like it's good for the business first of all. Like there are so many of these indie wrestlers who are getting contracts, and like when I was going through the business, it was WWE or nothing. Yeah, you could fuck around with TNA, but you're not making big money. It'll be good at the time. You could make somewhat of a living. Some guys can make a living off of it, but most of the time you go down there and there are people. So many people would just move to Orlando and like work at the resort and just to get some tryout matches and hope to still work for that restaurant, but at least now they can actually have a second job and get paid to wrestle. So like it was really the WWE or nothing. I like the fact that they brought an alternative. You're not going to make as much money here, most guys, but at least you're getting paid for what you do. All these guys are running off of passion. Like, indie wrestlers don't get paid dick unless you're like the Chris Heroes, the Young Bucks, those kind of dudes. Most indie wrestlers don't get paid shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you literally have to go to Japan if you want to make any kind of money. That's just, you have to, And so it's great for the business. I love it. I love the indie style of wrestling, all the high spots. I think it's evolution. I think that's like the stages in wrestling, right? Like some people looked at it like, oh man, it doesn't make sense. It's storylines. Think about the attention span these days, Joe, of millennials and the kids even younger. The attention span is like people would prefer to watch a 2-minute video to a 10-minute video. They'd prefer to, and like the shorter the better. That's just how it is, right? Nobody can focus long enough. Even these shows we have to clip up because there's people who maybe won't listen to the show because they see it's an hour long. Where if we clip it up and show them the specific topics, they might be more likely to give us a shot and check us out, which is fine. We'll play the game. It's all good. But knowing that's how millennials think, to me, it makes sense. Like watching a wrestling match, the old school matches to these millennials are going to be boring. So if you want to, it's kind of like baseball, right? Like they get it. People want to see home runs and strikeouts. So we're going to fuck with this ball until we get more home runs and more strikeouts. We're going to change the spin rate. We're going to, elevate the spin rate. We're going to, everything. So to me, it's just like AEW, NXT, those styles. And I think Triple H knows this. And I think that's why Triple H is doing NXT the way he is. Because those guys like Adam Cole, those are all indie guys that are the core of that thing. And like he's getting a chance, like they got that guy Pete Dunne, who I think is awesome from the UK. I think that dude is a nasty ass worker, man, in a good way, of course. Like that guy he does dirties to thy neighbors in the ring. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't, unless you're from the WiseTake Nation, then you'll know what that means. But I love it. I like what they're doing. I don't know. Like the problem is they don't have business people making the decisions, making business decisions. You got Cody Rhodes, you got the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, who are making like pretty epic decisions with a guy who, no offense to Mr. Khan, I respect him, what he's doing, and I don't know anything about him personally, but to a guy that's really working with, his uncle's checkbook, so to speak. So it seems Eric Bischoff-esque. It seems WCW-esque, right? Maybe there's some reckless money being thrown around. There's some guys that they signed that's kind of questionable, like, do you need this person? Did you need this person, or do you just want to have a really big roster so you can feel more like a big company? Like, I don't know. So I worry about that a little bit, but hey, they're on TV. I don't think TV is it's still worth a ton. But like the old saying, like old school wrestling is like, if you want to be anything, you have to be on TV. I think that there's a niche nowadays for the online stuff. The Young Bucks pretty much made themselves famous by using YouTube and starting like those other shows and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of the future. I don't know, like I think the TV deal was kind of premature. They probably didn't need it right away. But I guess the advertisement money, all that good stuff that comes with it, you kind of need if you want to pay off all these contracts you have. But I'm with you. I'd like to see like a little bit of a mix, and maybe not wait too long to where they're too old. The schedule is going to be lighter. I think more WWE guys are going to be interested. The WWE schedule is fucking brutal, dude. It is fucking brutal. And a lot of people are looking over there. They got guaranteed money over there, and they're working like a couple times a week, and they're with their families and all this stuff. Like, there's going to be a lot of people interested in that shit, So I think they could, but you can't wait until a guy's as old as fucking Chris Jericho and like make him your headliner, man. Chris Jericho got fat as hell. Did he not? Did you see him there's a clip of him in the last show, and he was like in all black, and he was like attacking somebody. He wore like all black with a black mask, and they did the whole deal. And he's like beat the shit out of somebody. And like I'm sitting here like, who is that guy, man? I don't have no idea who that is. Like normally I can figure it out. Like And I'm like, I have no clue who this is. The guy just looks so fat. He's like just a big ass fucking meatball. I'm just sitting here like, no, I don't know. I recognize him. He took off his shit. It was Chris Jericho. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, you're the weird. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen a guy who looked fatter with a shirt on than without a shirt. You know what I'm saying? It was the weirdest fucking thing. But I agree with you. You know, I'd like to. There's moves they gotta make, but I root for them, bro. I really do, because I did the wrestling product itself, which to me, I don't give a fuck about the storylines, man. Fuck the storylines. Let these dudes wrestle. To me, the storylines should like involve wrestling completely. It should be around like I like wrestling that's more athletic. I like it to be treated like an athletic kind of thing. And there a couple storylines for key guys, sure. You know, the guys that have the belts, they're the prime suspect for storylines. But give the storylines to the guys that don't have the belt, so that people give a shit about their matches, right? If you have a belt, you don't need too much of a storyline. You already know what you're defending. People get it. You're a champion. But like, if you don't have a belt, the storyline's a little more important, because why is this guy gonna give a shit if you're not even wrestling for a belt? What are you wrestling for? Like, that to me, that's a little more important. There's not like rankings, right? So, but I agree with you for the most part.
Yeah, I'm with it. I think that it's. I think that wrestling. I think that AEW they should be more transparent and stuff. They should do maybe some sort of rankings as something this person gets, you know, the title shot now and stuff like that. Make it a little bit more wins and loss kind of matter and stuff like that, so people can follow.
I always thought like Ring of Honor in the early stages. I thought the way they used to do things was really cool. Like they had like slightly different rules, but they had like the code of honor, and it was more about the wrestling. You know, since then they've been bought out by this company, that company, and you know, they're like still indie but like semi-corporate. But I always liked like the focus on the actual wrestling. I want to see athletic competition in that shit. Like, hey, listen, wrestling's a work. We all know that. It's predetermined. I know that firsthand. I did it for a few years, and for acting more than that. But anyway, regardless, there's still like a lot of super athletic people, like this crazy athletic kind of people. I'm not just talking about Ricochet and guys who do a bunch of backflips and front flips and all that kind of shit, but there are guys who really make it an art form, and you know, like lay things in, like work stiff but don't injure people, and these kind of things that you could really suspect, like you could really like respect. Even now, you know, as a person who does work, who knows the in and outs or whatever you want to say, like I can still appreciate when I see a really solid fucking modern day, you know, wrestling match. I can still appreciate that shit. So, yeah. Anyway, Joe, this was a lot of fun, man. Maybe we'll try to do one more episode this week and try to squeeze in 2 this week. But if not, we'll definitely do it again Sunday night. But I am digging this, man. I'm having a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, we're still in the DFS grind, but it's nice to kind of prepare ourselves for football coming up, and at the same time, you know, get the nation, you know, kind of rolling and thinking about things coming up, man. This is good times with Patio Joe.
Hell yeah! Anytime we can talk about sports,
let's go.
Especially football season getting a little closer.
We even talked a little bit about some wrestling today too. Some wrestling.
That's right.
But real quick, guys, if you are interested in playing daily fantasy sports, DraftKings or FanDuel, if you don't know what that means, go check us out at WiseTake.com. We are a DFS community. We can teach you how to play. You know, we do a lot of cool things. You can ask some of our members now if you can get hold of them. We have Slack chat, articles, cheat sheets. Make it real easy. We give you things like options, and we tell you who we're on for the day, but we also try to kind of teach you the long game and like explain the game to you so that you understand how to do it and truly like grasp what it is you're doing. It's a really, really fun game if you're into sports. We're rocking baseball, but we have all kinds of sports. It's like golf, NASCAR. We got all kinds of shit rocking. So, and then of course football's coming up. So go check us out at WiseTake.com. We are, those of you that do play DFS and you know the drill, we are offering the NFL season pass at the Early Owl discount. I think it's Early Owl NFL 2019, I think. Go to our Twitter at @wise_take. It says it there. But there's a promo code. The NFL season pass for DFS full season is $149.99. You can get it for $99.99, $100. Save $50 if you get it now. September 1st, the offer is good until then. So you got some time, but I wouldn't wait, because if you forget, you're gonna be screwed. And you're gonna be like, "Yo, bro, hook it up, man. Hook it up for the $99." I'd be like, "Nah, bro. There's a fucking deadline, man. You had a hell
Yeah.
yeah, you had a full month, and your ass did nothing because we released this shit a few days ago. So you had a full month, you did nothing. No breaks. Do it now. Do it today. And if you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on if you're listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. And don't forget to let us know your feedback on Paulie's article, what your thoughts are on his top 10 rankings going into the 2019 NFL season. Joey, anything in closing for the nation before we get up out of here?
No, man, we got fantasy draft season coming up, so be getting for your getting ready for your drafts coming up.
Let's do it. Get ready. For Patio Joe, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Peace.